Kilted Balls. Yeah.
Definitely you're behind there. Definitely. So I got this
What?
the other day.
Oh, man.
Look, it has like a little like metal band around it.
That's awesome.
I know. I'm kind of excited. It was good the other day, and I haven't had any for a while. So I'm like, I'm gonna have a little snippet while we go. So everybody,
Good.
welcome back to the Kilted Balls podcast. We're so glad to see you back. We are approaching our 200th episodes, and some of you have been with us the whole time. Cheers to you.
We appreciate that. Yes.
Right, that's amazing, amazing. And that doesn't count our interviews. With our interviews and little things, we probably are almost over 200. But yeah, maybe we should have a party for our 200th.
Awesome. That's a good idea. I was just telling someone about the party you're going to have for your 50th birthday. So
right,
that's awesome.
I was thinking after our trip, we did like 20 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And we had enough time in the day that if we had started earlier and gone later, I could have got another 20 in.
Easily, and no elevation.
If there's no elevation, easy. Like the elevation is what killed that and made it take forever, right? Like it took us like an hour to go like a mile. So anyway, I think that made me have some more confidence after Miles was like poo-pooing it. That gave me more confidence that I could get it done. And if I start to die, then I'll switch to bike or something. But yeah.
Yeah, don't have poo-poo your dreams.
No poop in the dreams. Speaking about poo-poo in the dreams, have you been following the Olympics?
I have. I started early. Actually, it was funny. Like, I watched like the first game of soccer that was on. I was like, well, sweet. This is more Olympics than I've caught the previous years. Because I go in and out. Well, what's going on right now? What time is it? I guess I'm not working right now. I don't know why. I don't know why I've missed the Olympics in the past. Maybe it's just because when I'm home in the summertime, I'm just like excited to like do stuff and not necessarily hang out and watch TV.
Yeah, that could be true. And last time, I don't know, it was weird. It was COVID, right? 2021. It was not even the correct year.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit weird. Like, it's been interesting because I'm home right now during the day, and I don't know why normally I'm not. But I have for sure been home. I think because I'm with Cal anyway, and we're playing and stuff. But so Cal and I have been watching things live. And
that's awesome.
Because it's on Peacock, like as soon as it was on, I'm like, I'm buying the Peacock subscription. It's like $8 for the month. I'm like, well worth it so that I can watch it. And right now I'm loving Peacock. I'm loving how they're running things. And like in the app, you can access everything all the time.
That's really cool.
So it lists all the sports. It has like marks on them so you can tell which ones are live. You can go and do a replay. So like right now, our new favorite sport, and I kind of fell in love with it last Olympics. And this time I missed the men's version of it. It must have been like all on day 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So I watched the women's, and like Amy and I have decided it's for sure our favorite women's sport. And it might be my favorite sport overall, but that's rugby sevens.
Okay, we watched a little rugby.
Yeah, rugby sevens.
So is the sevens is the rugby different than rugby sevens?
Yeah,
is there two different rugbies?
There's 2 different rugbies. I don't know if they both play in the Olympics. I assume they do. But rugby 7 has 7 players. Has 7-minute halves.
Oh wow.
And like flies. Like you're playing on a field that's 100 meters by 70 meters. And they move the ball like you move it in Ultimate Frisbee. So most of our listeners probably don't know that, but you and I, we do. So they're always swinging it to like the far side and running it from there. And it's just fantastic. And the women are like freaking amazing. And
that is awesome.
So we've been just really loving that. And so like today, like I messaged the group chat, my family group chat, because I'm like, hey, I just got a weird login. Is somebody like using Peacock? And my one daughter was like, yeah, I'm at work watching rugby live. And it was like it was the semifinals and all the placement matches.
Okay.
And so I didn't want to watch it without my wife, so I waited until just now, and then we like fast forward and have to sit through like 2 minutes of commercials. But like I watched the
Mm-hmm.
USA semifinals, which they lost. It was a close game, and
Okay.
but they lost to New Zealand, who's like a powerhouse. But it was fun, and then like the girls follow some of the girls on the American team on Instagram, and so they really wanted to watch it because they already follow some of them.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
yeah, and so they really wanted to like be involved in watching, and so they were into it. And so then tonight we watched that, and then we fast forwarded to the bronze medal match, and oh my gosh, it was just amazing, just fantastic. The U.S. won it with a score in extra time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
I'll have to watch it because
Yes.
Peacock, it has all the old stuff too, right?
Yeah.
It sounded like you were saying that.
Yeah.
Because I know we have Peacock. I've been watching it on YouTube,
Okay.
and yesterday they had YouTube TV, but yesterday they had it like they do during the NCAA. There was 3 screens on at one time, so we were
Yes.
watching like volleyball and judo, and I think basketball was on. So it was really cool.
Yeah. It's. I tell you what, I love the Olympics in general, but and I've seen people talk about this. I actually overheard people at a restaurant talking about it on Sunday. But the fact that they're like, you become so passionate about these sports you've never seen, and you're like so excited to watch. Like I was watching fencing. Cal and I watched
We
ping
did watch some
pong. You know,
Does your oldest still fence? I know she
She
did
does
for a
not.
bit. Okay. I thought she did her first year at Michigan State,
Yeah,
but
she
I
did club a
was telling the
little
boys.
bit, but yeah, and
Okay.
like her little bro doesn't know anything about it, but I was like,
Mhm.
your sister used to do this, and he's like, I love sword fighting, like that's what he calls it.
Yeah.
You know, but so he gets to experience that. Like we watched mountain biking, and then like we'll watch it during the day, so we'll watch all this stuff live, and then I'll be like, the wife and kids will get home after work, and I'll be like, you guys have to watch this, and we'll go watch the replays on Peacock, and I'll be like, watch this, like watch this cycling thing. And so like the mountain bike cycling, like I've never watched that. To do one lap takes more than 10 minutes.
No way.
There's 8 laps.
That sounds pretty serious.
Oh my gosh. So I'm like watching the first lap. I'm like, this is crazy. And they're all like drinking water and pouring it all over themselves. I'm like, wow, they're kind of making a big deal. And then the announcer's like, okay, 7 laps to go. And I'm like, what? Like it was like an hour and 30-minute race. I'm like,
So are they all going at the same time? Is it like a
Yeah.
mountain bike trail?
yes, it's a mountain bike trail.
So how do you pass people?
Oh my gosh,
I've
it's
never
insane.
seen a mountain bike trail where you could
Yeah.
even 2 people could go
There's
side by
there's
side.
spots where they pass, and you could see a lot of passing in the first 2 laps, right? And then in like the third and fourth lap, it's spread out enough so there isn't a lot of passing except for easy to pass areas. But
Okay.
the weird part was in the third or fourth lap, the Great Britain guy is winning. The announcers are all talking about how he's easily going to win this. He's just amazing. He's got a French guy and like a South African guy fighting with him. And the whole pack is only like 9 seconds behind him. And the USA
Yeah.
is like in that other pack. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're like making some big calls right now. But they're like, he was amazing in the Tour de France. No one can match this guy's power. And they're like, this is just what he likes to do. Just sit here in front. So in that fourth lap, he blows his front tire.
Oh no!
So
That's
he
part of the
goes,
game.
he goes, gets it changed. He's 35 seconds, so a minute behind. Catches up to the first group, which is now 35 seconds behind. Stays with them forever. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, now he's caught the next group. He's 15 seconds behind. And then they're like, okay, now he's caught the number 2, and now he's caught the number 1. And so he's racing with the number 1 guy, and he's just following him for like a lap and a half. And they get into the last like lap, and there was like 4 lead changes. So talking about passing, he passed like 4 or 5 times, and then he's behind. They're going into like the last half kilometer. Like, and the France guy, the crowd's going insane. He's easily got it won. It's all trees. The Great Britain guy cuts the edge right up along the trees. So he's like in the middle of the tree. And the Britain guy comes through the trees, gets ahead of him. His tire bumps his. It makes the French guy take his foot off the pedal. You know how they lock in? He has to unlock his foot to keep his balance. Great Britain's gone. Wins by like 20 meters.
That sounds awesome.
It was just like a great finish. So I'm like, you have to watch this finish. I'm going to fast forward all the way to the finish. You just got to watch like this last like 5 minutes of the race. But I'm like, it was an hour and 25-minute race, and it came down to the last 5 minutes. And like, France was kind of booing.
Yeah.
But because it was like a little sad and there was contact, and I think they were just sad because their guy had led like 6 laps. But in reality, that guy blew a tire and was a half minute to a minute behind and caught your ass. Like, that's impressive. Which, that's the thing that I love about the Olympics is, like, they highlight all of these stories about adversity, right? And people overcoming it. But then beyond that, there's literally adversity being overcome in front of you all the time. Like, there's super rarely any easy gold medal unless you're like women's or guys basketball. You know, like, there's like nothing easy. They're all like coming back, or like, what was it, like the women last night doing the 100-meter butterfly? It was 0.04, 400ths of a second, like split up like the top 6 or something.
Wow. Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh. Like, anybody could have won that race.
Yeah. Yeah, it is great, and that's what we're trying to show the kids too. Like, when we were watching judo, Ollie's like, "Oh my gosh! Like, look at their," because they were like, judo is a lot of throwing.
Yes.
And he's in jujitsu, which is different. And we're like, well, they don't have throwing like that. And he's like, these girls are so good. Like, they're the best in their country. Like, there's maybe 2 of them that are like the best in the country. I don't know how it exactly works, but I'm like, when you're watching the Olympics, you're seeing the best of the best who aren't professional.
Yeah. Well, and some of them are even professional. Right? Like, those basketball players, LeBron James is a professional.
Yeah.
Right?
And I don't know why, like, because if you look at the soccer, I mean, some of the guys are, but like some of the best players, they aren't playing. And I understand there is an age thing, but like Mbappe, he's one of the best. He's young. He's not playing for France. I mean, France is still good.
Yeah.
But he's not. I mean, he's won other stuff. So maybe he's just letting some other people do it. Who knows? All the other back end stuff for that. Like, but yeah, with the basketball, the men, the U.S. men.
Oh yeah, they're all pro. There's like 2 or 3 MVPs.
They might bring a college guy in. Yeah.
No, I don't think there's any college guys on that team. Even from the other countries, like, who was it? This year's MVP is playing for his national team, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that line of professional stuff like disappeared a while back. So, because they're clearly doing it, and you know what? Especially for some of those underserved sports like synchronized diving, if they can get money for it and still do it, like, more power to you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, because there's like some of them, like if you watch the men's gymnastics, that was super exciting, and it's all in the news today. But that guy who's like Superman, like, he's like an engineer, right?
Yeah.
And there was somebody else. One of the swimmers was like, what was he, a project manager or something? And they showed him going through his day and how it was like a workout. Then he was in like work meetings, and then it was a workout and a workout, then finishing up work. And I'm just like that. It takes a lot of desire and drive to get there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, exactly.
Another thing that we preach a lot that was really evident, like when you're listening to these people, is they're so positive all the time, right? Like, they lose a point, okay, we're getting right back at it, we're positive, like, they're not losing their focus. And then the people who do lose focus are the ones who obviously are having a lot of trouble scoring.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. It's super cool.
Now, speaking of Olympics and post-Olympics, do you ever see you had a local hero who participated? Was it last year, last time, or 2 times ago? I forget. It might have been 2 times ago, 8 years. But is she still around, or has she moved on to bigger and better places?
So she Didn't do college athletics because college athletics you can't be professional. And she
Okay.
declared that she was professional right after the Olympics. So that's Jordan
Mm-hmm.
Weber, gold medalist. She's from our town, and she went from there to college in California, coaching and going to school.
Okay.
And now she coaches the University of Arkansas.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so she's down there in University of Arkansas, which the SEC, like it seems like every gymnast that was competing was from the SEC for the females. They're like, oh, and here's here's so and so from Japan. She goes to, you know, Louisiana, and here's so and so, and every school. I'm like, these are all SEC schools. Like I don't know what the SEC is doing, but
That's funny.
they were
must
well
have some
represented. So, but yeah,
corner
so
on the.
now she's doing that, and now we have another one.
That's super awesome.
Our heavyweight Greco-Roman wrestler from Fowlerville.
Yes.
This is his first time in the Olympics. He was an alternate in 2016, and the last time he won the Olympic trials for the U.S., but he wasn't allowed to compete because in wrestling you have to win X number of big level tournaments to be allowed to compete at the Olympics. Like that's the Olympic rules. So they only allow like not only are you the best of the best in your country, you're like the top like 16 best in the world already. Like they've already
Of course, they don't even let you go.
they don't even let you go, which I think is similar to things like rugby and a whole bunch of these sports, right? They don't let every country go. You've got to qualify for it, right? Because imagine how many milers you'd have if every country got to send their top two, right? So you got to qualify beyond that. And so what happened was it was COVID, and they didn't have those tournaments, so he couldn't qualify. He had one chance.
weird.
He had one chance, and the world champion was there, and he lost. I think in overtime or something. So.
Yeah, it was something like that. No, but that's exciting. I mean, you had much more experience with his dad than I did. His dad was my coach for a couple of years in track, maybe only one, but also a teacher and someone who I knew when I was going through, when I was teaching there and hanging out and stuff. So, great guy, and
Yes.
I wish his son the best.
The kiddo's really good. Studied astrophysics, at
Yeah. Well,
at U of M, and
yeah. That's the amazing part. Like going into college, it's like, do you want a full ride with wrestling? Do you want a full ride with football? Do you want a full ride because you're super smart? Like, smart kid, good athlete.
he's been interviewed a lot in the area. Again, overcoming adversity because they're like, man, you were so close in 2016. Then in 2021, you were close. Then you gave it up to go do football. So he signed with, I think it was North Carolina, actually. He signed with North Carolina, and I think he got injured in the pre-camp, right?
Okay, actually, he was with the Titans.
Oh, the
Nashville.
Titans, Tennessee, right? So yeah, you're right. He was with the Titans, then got injured, so had to bail, and then he's like, you know what? I miss wrestling. I'm gonna try to do it one more time. And so like
That's awesome.
Again, you're getting hit with adversity, and we've talked about this. Like adversity hits you all the time, and what separates people is how they handle that adversity, right? Like I think almost any path you choose, if it's a path that's trying to lead you to success, right? I had a team once that said we're team mediocre. They never had any adversity, right?
Yeah.
They did.
That's
That's what they wanted. They're like, we just want to kind of go through life. We just want to be chill. And I'm like, you can make that choice. Like, you can go ahead and be team mediocre. Just understand you're not going to win any titles or make yourself better. And they're like, yeah, we're okay with that. And I'm like, okay. Like, it's your team. Like, if that's your thing. And I tried to inspire them past that. But, that's hard because if you want to be good, if you want to be a successful business person, if you want to have a successful, like, super successful marriage, if you want to be, like, the top of the line parent, you're going to have adversity. You're going to have adversity, and that's hard. Right? And
those are things you have to move past.
Yes, and I think that's what these Olympics have taught us is, here's example and example and example of Here's adversity. How are you going to overcome? Here's adversity. How are you going to overcome? And then it'll go into even like next cycle where they'll be like, okay, you had this adversity in 2024. Look how you overcame it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. I love that storyline. I love the positivity. There was a lot of griping about the opening ceremonies. I loved the opening ceremonies.
I didn't watch it. I've seen the memes, and was going to ask your opinion, like how so many people could get upset about Dionysus and think it's something else.
It was super funny because, like I said, I watched it live. Cal and I watched it live, and we watched it live, and we're just like Cal and I, right? Even at 7, we're both like, "Oh, this is amazing!" Like the showmanship was amazing. Listening to all the teams get called, like whatever, but the other part was like amazing. And so then when the family got home, we're like, you have to watch this. It's so amazing. So we watched it again, right? The 7-year-old watched it twice. It's a 4-hour show, right?
Wow, that's awesome.
Because it was so amazing. And he might have been on the phone a little bit for the second one. But, you know, it was really, really good. And then I get a text like the next morning from a friend. And they like sent me a link to an article that was like, you know, they profaned the Last Supper, blah, 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 or whatever. And I wrote my friend back and was like, didn't even notice. Are you talking about the fashion show segment? He never responded. And like, I didn't know it was a thing. Like, I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't recognize it as a thing. And what this has shown, and again, it's, I feel sad a lot, right? When I hear people talk or when I see stuff like this. And this is one of those moments. I literally, first off, in the showing of it, it was a fashion show. And they're all lined up cheering on the fashion show and blah, blah, blah. I didn't even see the blue guy that they're all talking about. They're like, did you see the blue guy on there? And I'm like, literally watched it twice and never saw the blue guy. Right? Like, you must have been watching a different broadcast than I was watching, right? Because there was a lot going on. So I'm like, like we were like, I wonder how they cut this and did all this because they were cutting from boats to show and boats to show. But anyway, so like, I'm like, I didn't even notice what they're talking about. And then they're like, it was the Last Supper. It was the Last Supper. And I'm like, okay, you're just showing ignorance. Like I'm like, when I first saw it, nowhere in my mind did I look at that and go, oh, that's the Last Supper. Nowhere. But I have way more experience with culture and literature and artwork to recognize that was a recreation of a picture from the Louvre, which they just referenced 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
Which was not the Last Supper. So you were supposed to look at the picture they showed before and think, oh, that's the picture they showed before. And instead they went to the Last Supper, which, this is a secret. So don't tell any of our people who are outraged. So listeners, don't tell people who are outraged. The Last Supper was not a picture of the Last Supper.
What?
Like, nobody had cameras. Like, it wasn't. What it was.
I thought they all had to stand there while he was painting.
No, they weren't. They didn't even model it while he was painting. Do you know what he based the Last Supper on?
No, I don't.
That picture! So if anybody should be mad,
that's awesome.
Like, it should be them for you stealing the Last Supper picture from them. It's like Noah, right? Like, people get like so up in arms about Noah, and I'm like, you understand that Noah was stolen from the Epic of Gilgamesh. Like, that's not an original piece of writing. And the Epic of Gilgamesh was stolen as well. Like, the Noah story is like 4 deep.
Yeah. Like, exactly. The flood, there's a lot of different floods coming from all over the place.
From every culture has their story of a flood. Every culture. And all you got to do is look when the story of Noah was written. which was during the Jews' exile to Babylon while they worked in the library of Babylon. And had access to all the flood stories.
Well, that was the reference that I saw. When they were saying the blue guy was Dionysus.
Yeah.
And like they were listing all the things, and it's like when you're all your information, if you're just reading it blindly and you don't know where it comes from, and it might want to check the source because Jesus looks a lot like this guy. Like if you look at all the things, like his mother was a virgin. Like there's all these references that are almost exactly the same, and people being upset that they were picking on Christianity. So it goes to show,
From a
and I'm
Christian
glad.
country.
Yes, it goes to show, and I'm glad it wasn't anyone in my circle, like nobody that I know was talking about this. I'm seeing it on Facebook. But if you want to be upset about something, you can be upset about anything. Like people are looking for stuff to be upset about, and it's their journey, and it's, to me, unfortunate because there's a lot of wonderful things out there that it's just to flip your switch. Like
I truly feel a lot of people just want to be upset and want to be grumpy at something. And I've counseled multiple administrators before. They're like, I don't seem to be able to win. I'm like, the reason you can't seem to win is they're just looking. The people under you are just looking for something to be mad about. Whenever you do anything, you're giving them the target to be mad. And they're like, how do I not do that? I'm like, you have somebody else make the decision so you're not the target. I'm like, get someone else to take ownership of whatever it is you want to do. Have them do it. They'll be mad at them. It's still your thing, right? But they just want somebody to be mad at. And then you
have to give up your ego and let other people make decisions, and you don't look like the great person.
Yeah. Well, ego's a big thing, right? You got to give up the ego. Which was the great thing about that men's gymnastics, right? That guy sat through every routine. His only thing was the very last event. And he had to just sit there and wait for the last event. And whether he did good or not was whether they were bronze medalists or not. Right?
Yeah, I heard on the radio they were talking about that guy a lot today.
Like he had to put his ego aside. It couldn't be about him, right? Which that's like something I'll tell Cal a lot of times. And even at 7, I'm trying to drill this message in. I'm like, it's not about you. You're a little kid and you want to make it about you. Teenagers want to make it about them. The world revolves around them. And I go, the most important distinction you can make is none of it's about you. None of it is. Everybody's doing their own journey, and it's all about them and their journey, not about what you're doing, right? Once you kind of make that understanding and you realize that you are important to you, then it works out a little bit better.
Yeah.
It seems to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, enough about Olympics here. We got a little bit of time left.
Yes.
I didn't hear from you all weekend. What the heck has been going on?
What did I do this weekend?
Now I don't feel as bad.
No, well, I guess a big thing that Tony came over, Tony and Cynthia, which was awesome. Gina's brother and sister-in-law. So we haven't seen them much, and so it was great, hanging out with them and seeing them, and just spending some good quality time. So that was really cool.
That's awesome.
I think that was Saturday. Like got out the firewood. Jason had left firewood the last time he was over, so got that out. We have like this little fire pit and just sat outside. The kids all played, and it was awesome. Oh, so Gina. No, that must have been. Anyways, it all blends together. Doesn't matter. And then, because that was Saturday, maybe. Anyway, Gina, she went to get her nails done with Tristan's girlfriend. So we're getting ready to go on that cruise. We're all excited. Oh, yeah. And it was a little bit before that. Matt reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, I've got some time if you want to, disc golf or play some Seas of Thieves.
Oh,
So
nice.
it wasn't great disc golf for me that day. I was like, well, how about we disc golf tomorrow? He's like, that works perfect for me. Anyways, I get on the Peloton and we're playing Sea of Thieves, and we ended up playing 3 hours. We did like a 2 hour session, and then took a little break, and then did a little 1 hour, and I ended up walking 8 miles, which is awesome.
That is terrific.
So I didn't feel like as bad that I was like hanging out playing video games. It was fun. It's not something I often do, although I guess it's twice in 2 weeks I've played
I was gonna say, last
video
week
games.
after we recorded people, it was the next day. Kilton and I literally stayed up all night.
Oh, see, we haven't recorded since then. I forgot. Okay, yeah, we did.
That's
we
what I
stayed up all
figured.
night long playing.
That's what I figured ruined your weekend. Is that you were
I
so
thought
tired?
No, I caught back up right away. Like that's just a day for me. I just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I didn't even go to sleep early the next day because we're up late. We're up till midnight playing.
Yes, we were up till midnight.
Games. But yeah, we started a game of Civ 6 at 9 p.m. And we finished ball 1 at 6 a.m.
Yep, right about 6 a.m. So it was 9-hour game. Woo. I blame
awesome.
you. I blame you for it being
No,
a 9-hour game.
I said, oh, it's 11 o'clock. It's a slippery slope.
No.
And then at 4, you're like, haha, you said it was a
I
slippery
blame
slope.
you because by the time you had like 5 or 6 cities, every turn took you an hour. So that whole game, people, took 6 turns.
I forget why I had a lot going on. I do know that.
You had so much going on. Like every turn, you're like, okay, sorry, I've got to move these 50 people around. I'm like,
But it was a good time. So yeah, it was
great.
an awesome weekend, and I'm like all packed. I have to put my running shoes in and something else.
So are you going to be on your cruise during next week's recording session?
I was thinking we're either going to have to record early and then drop it on Tuesday, or we can talk about that later.
Ooh,
or miss a week.
Or miss a week.
But yes, I'm going to be on the boat on Tuesday.
Oh my goodness. Are you getting excited?
I'm super excited.
Kilted. Kilted is a traveling machine, people. Traveling machine. Went to Washington. Now he's going on a cruise.
I know. I have an epic. Obviously the trip set it off, which was the end of July, which is super awesome. But the family cruise, come back. It's Matt's party, and then the weekend after that is the Mad Monster that we like to go to.
Oh my god!
The horror festival here in Charlotte.
Well,
so I should see James and hopefully do some fun stuff.
I'm hoping for my next trip I get to take the train out to like Seattle. I think
awesome.
I think that'd be amazing.
That would be super cool. If you guys do that, let me know.
I will. I think it's like a 4 or 5 day trip, maybe 4 days, which I think would be terrific. So
it'd be so much better than a Greyhound.
Yeah.
Although I think I am a firm believer. I think I've said this before on the show. If you missed it, people, I'm a firm believer that everybody should take a Greyhound trip at least once.
Like how far?
Just to experience it. I don't know. I did a 12-hour. And then I said I'd never do it again, and then I did a 4-hour just because it worked out.
I've done an hour one. I've done an hour one or a 2-hour one. So I don't know if I came from do 12.
Yeah, actually, it's from Minneapolis. It had to have taken longer than 12 because it takes 12 for Michigan to drive to Minneapolis.
Yeah, what made you do a bus?
I didn't have a car. It was when I was selling sticky rollers then, and I was up in Minneapolis, and I had to get back to Detroit. So I didn't want to fly home because it cost too much. So I was like, I'll just take the bus. So I took the bus. It was a few stops between Minneapolis and Chicago, and then the Chicago to Detroit was straight over. And I had a 4-hour layover in Detroit to get up to Royal Oak, and I was just like, screw this. I called the taxi, and I just took a ride home.
Nice.
I was like, I'm not sitting around Detroit Greyhound station for 4 hours.
Nope, that's a hard pass.
I'll spend the extra $50 to get home.
Yeah, for sure. I would as
well. And then I took it from Colorado Springs to Pueblo. When we used to do the shows out there. I forget why I didn't have a vehicle. But yeah. Oh, speaking of something else I think everybody should do.
Yes.
You've talked about this because your daughters have done it. I think you have done it as well, but changing a screen on a cell phone.
Yes, I think that's a really important skill so that you're not scared of it and that you learn how to do it. And, cell phone screens break so often. So learning how to do it and just the patience and carefulness you need, I think is important to do at least a few times in your life. So.
Yeah, I did that just before we recorded. That we had my iPad. The screen was shattered beyond belief.
Oh no!
Super bad. And I thought I messed something up as I was opening it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go all the way through this. I'm going to finish it and see. And it was terrible. There was glass everywhere. There's little shards in my lap.
No.
I'm sure I have shards in my skin. I'm expecting at least 10 cuts from the ground.
Oh, no.
But yeah, it was just like little glass shards everywhere. But I think that I got one piece in it because there was like a loose little wire sticking up that I didn't think should be there. But I did everything and went through it, and then I turned it on. It didn't work.
So now you got to take it back apart.
The screen is there, but no, I think because I saw a piece and I thought it was part of the stickiness. So I like pulled it off, and when I pulled it off, there's like a little wire sticking out. Like I pulled like whatever it was important that I took off.
And you can't re-put it on?
No, it was messed up.
How did it break? I'm curious.
Oh, just Morgan had dropped it 1,000 times.
Oh. I was hoping like Morgan like whipped it across the room and it shattered an aquarium and a TV or something.
Yeah, he hasn't had it in a while. We called the place and they said it was going to be $300 to get it fixed, and I'm like, he's got another iPad, and it was $20 for that screen. Like Amazon, it was like literally $20. I got it. It came with all the stuff you need. I think that if you're going to do it, people, and I don't know if you do this, like I watched a video after because I was having troubles, but the guy like used a heat gun to help warm the stickiness up. I think that would have made things a little easier. I might not have jacked up the piece that I jacked up if the glass would have come off.
We always watch the videos first 2 or 3 times to make sure we know what we're doing, and then we watch them while we're doing it. And pause.
Yeah, I read the instructions a bunch of times. I'm like, this seems pretty straightforward. There were pictures and everything. So yeah, that's my everyone should experience those 2 things.
I think it's important. Or people, you can just never break one.
That is good.
But don't be afraid of it if you do. Right? Those are somewhere between $400 and $1,000 phones, and
yeah, like now, like if something happened to mine, I would for sure, like if it was more than just a crack, if there were a couple cracks, I'd be like, I can do this.
Yes.
Like fully, I could switch one.
Yeah.
Like I'm confident.
Yep, for sure.
Even though the first one wasn't a success.
It was not great. All right. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, listeners, lots of stuff going on here soon. We're 1 week from my election, so our next episode, we'll probably be talking about that. We'll probably either be talking about Kilted going on his trip or him returning from his trip, depending on how the recording goes. We'll talk about the end of the Olympics. So I think our next episode, or next 2 episodes, are going to be pretty jam-packed with stuff, and should be amazing. And I hope you all are having a great week and that it continues to do so. And get out there and have a good time. This is Ballbuster signing off.
Kilted Dragon Jerry, love you all.